video is actually going to work for both the formatting dialogue and flow quotes 1 bubble as well as the formatting dialogue and colon quotes bubbles. So starting with this first one, it's going to be very similar to what you were asked to do the last time, where you're having to determine if it is a dialogue or a flow quote. Remember, the difference with those is that dialogue quotes have dialogue tag words like said or wonder that tend to precede them. Now, those, when we punctuate them, because we pause with dialogue quotes, which you've realized in the last bubble, we want to make sure that we are formatting those quotes correctly. So here you can see we have Matt said. This is our tagline, so our person and what they are saying. We naturally pause with dialogue quotes, which is denoted by the comma. And then normally in a dialogue quote, they will be saying a full sentence. So for instance, we will beat you in Monopoly. Since that's a full sentence, we're going to capitalize it like we did in the very first bubble of this unit. Again, keeping those quotation marks around the quoted material. So for dialogue quotes, this is how you will format them. If it is a full sentence, you're going to continue capitalizing them, and you're going to add that comma in there to denote if there is a pause. For flow quotes, those that naturally flow and don't have a pause, we don't want to worry about adding any comma that slows it down and actually interrupts that flow. Normally a flow quote also is not a full sentence, so you'll see that these are not capitalized because they are not quoting a full sentence. Now, when you're looking at the colon quotes, which is just a tiny bit different here, colons are basically acting as more of a super pause, but remember back when we did semicolons and colons, the two things on either side of the colon are complete thoughts. So you have, Matt only had one thing to say. That is a complete thought. We could put a period there, but instead, because what follows it explains what he had to say, thinking back to our other unit, we're going to put that colon in, but it's still a full sentence, so we want to capitalize it. We're just not going to double up with both a colon and a comma on these. So you can kind of look at the difference here where we have said loudly, we will beat you in Monopoly. This is not one that you could use a colon with because Matt said loudly isn't a full sentence, but Matt had only one thing to say is. So that's the difference between the dialogue quotes and the colon quotes. You just have to make sure that with colon quotes that it is an independent clause or a full sentence on either side. So we'll do a couple examples here of those. Oops, excuse me. There we go. So, Haggard convinced me that wearing socks on the beach is the best way to avoid the sand crabs. Now, if you'll remember from my last video, if we have the word that, we have a flow quote. So we don't need to worry about capitalizing or adding commas to these. Pam Beasley suggested that a huge food fight would cure our boredom. We have our that keyword, that it's a flow quote, so we will not capitalize and not add a pause or a comma. Sniffing the air, Jara Hoffman whimpered, "Who ate the macaroni and cheese without me?" Now here we have whimpered, which is going to be kind of our dialogue tag word, so we can see that we do in fact have a dialogue quoted sentence here. Who ate macaroni and cheese without me is a complete thought, so we're going to capitalize the who, and because it's a dialogue quote and we naturally pause there, we want to make sure we add that comma in. Sarabi says, "I won't be able to put the comic book down because the artwork is out of control." The artwork is out of control isn't a complete thought because we have our flow quote here, so we're not going to worry about having a capitalization or a comma on that. Tina Fey admitted that she had purchased glittery Google-eyed sock puppets for her cousin. Our quoted material is not a full sentence and it flows easily in the sentence without a pause, so we have no capitalization and no comma. So on these, you're just going to see, again, a good trick is to see if you pause on these. So for instance, before I stepped on the basketball court, Ron Reasley shouted, "Make sure your shoelaces are tied." We naturally pause when we have that dialogue word, so we want to have the comma to show the pause, and then the capital afterwards. If you have any questions on this, don't be afraid to email me.